If you think it's hard to obey the government now, think of what it must have been like when Peter and Paul ministered in the Roman Empire. Well, if you're joining us in reading through this 60-day reading plan, today's reading is 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 13 through 20, and I encourage you to read that passage. Well, there have been times when I've heard Christians making remarks about how they were not going to obey the government here in the United States. They go on to make wild statements about having to rebel or just disregard whatever law they don't like. Unfortunately, there's no way that they can justify it biblically for failing to obey a government regulation, with just one exception. If the rule or law goes against God, whether it's specific law or whether in principle, then you must follow what God says and then go against that governmental law. Now, this is exactly what Peter did in Acts 5:29 when the Jewish governmental authorities told he and the disciples they could not speak about Christ. But our day-to-day lives, we must follow the rule of law. If that law does go against the command of God that's been given directly to us, then we may decline to follow it. However, we must be willing to take the punishment that goes along with that disobedience. We have a responsibility to present Christ to the world, and frankly, that's our primary responsibility. We present Christ in several ways. One is by the way we act. If our actions display our love for God through Christ, then we have a proper witness. If we are blamed for doing good and following God's righteousness, then frankly, we're in God's will. But if we destroy our witness by acting in a way which brings disgrace upon Christ, then we deserve our punishment. Christ is our example. He did not have to submit to the authorities. He could have called the angels down to protect him. Frankly, he could have enacted a judgment upon all of those people who attacked him. But instead, he submitted to their authority. He did not rebel against them, and through his actions, he was glorified. We live in a world in which evil is surrounding us. We live in a world where we are tempted to rebel against things that are not directly against God. Frankly, we're to follow the law. We're to submit to the authorities. However, if those laws do go against what God has declared, then it's our responsibility to follow God and to accept the punishment of the government.